The Volcae were a tribal confederation constituted before the raid of combined Gauls that invaded Macedon c. 270 BC and defeated the assembled Greeks at the Battle of Thermopylae in 279 BC. Tribes known by the name Volcae were found simultaneously in southern Gaul, Moravia, the Ebro River valley of Iberia, and Galatia in Asia Minor. The Volcae appear to have been part of the late Latine material culture, and a Celtic identity has been attributed to the Volcae, based on mentions in Greek and Latin sources as well as onomastic evidence. Driven by highly mobile groups operating outside the tribal system and comprising diverse elements, the Volcae were one of the new ethnic entities formed during the Celtic military expansion at the beginning of the 3rd century BC, collecting in the famous excursion into the Balkans, ostensibly, from the Hellene point of view, to raid Delphi. A branch of the Volcae split from the main group on the way into the Balkans and joined two other tribes, the Tolostobogi and the Trichmi, to settle in Central Asia Minor and establish a new Gaulish identity as the Galatians. The Tectosarii were a sept of the Volcae who moved through Macedonia into Asia Minor c. 270 BCE. Strabo says the Tectosarii came originally from the region near modern Toulouse, in France. Volcae of the Danube. Julius Caesar was convinced that the Volcae had originally been settled northeast of the Rhine, in what is now western and central Germany in the basin of the Weser River, for he mentioned the Volcae Tectosages as a Gaulish tribe which still remained in western Germany in his day, and there was formerly a time when the Gauls excelled the Germans in prowess, and waged war on them offensively, and, on account of the great number of their people and the insufficiency of their land, sent colonies over the Rhine. Accordingly, the Volcae Tectosages seized on those parts of Germany which are the most fruitful, and lie around the Hercynian forest, and settled there, which nation to this time retains its position in those settlements, and has a very high character for justice and military merit. Now also they continue in the same scarcity, indigence, hardihood, as the Germans, and use the same food and dress, but their proximity to the province and knowledge of commodities from countries beyond the sea supplies to the Gauls many things tending to luxury as well as civilization. Accustomed by degrees to be overmatched and worsted in many engagements, they do not now even compare themselves to the Germans in prowess. Caesar related a tradition associating the Celtic tribe of the Volcae to the vast Hercynian forest, though they were more probably to be located in the eastern range of the Mittelgebirge, yet Volcae of his time were settled in Moravia, east of the Boyar. Their apparent movement may indicate that the Volcae were newcomers to the region. Caesar's remark about the wealth of this region may have referred not only to agriculture but also to the mineral deposits there, while the renown attributed to the Volcae, in peace and in war, resulted from their metallurgical skills and the quality of their weapons, both attracting the attention of their northern neighbors. Together with the Boyar in the upper basin of the Elbe River to the west and the Kotini in Slovakia to the east, this area of Celtic settlement in Oppida led to the exploitation of natural resources on a grand scale and the concentration of skilled craftsmen, under the patronage of strong and wealthy chieftains. This culture flourished from the mid-2nd to the mid-1st century BCE, until it buckled under the combined pressure of the Germans from the north and the Dacians from the east. Allowance must be made for Julius Caesar's usual equation of primitive poverty with admirable hardihood and military prowess, and his connection of luxurious imports and the proximity of civilization, meaning his own, with softness and decadence. In fact, long-established trading connections furnished Gaulish elites with Baltic amber and Greek and Etruscan wares. Caesar took it as a given that the Celts in the Hercynian forest were emigrant settlers from Gaul who had seized the land, but modern archaeology identifies the region as part of the Latine homeland. As Henry Howarth noted a century ago, the Tectosages reported by Caesar as still being around the Hercynian forest were in fact living in the old homes of their race, whence a portion of them set out on their great expedition against Greece, and eventually settled in Galatia, in Asia Minor, where one of the tribes was called Tectosages, Volcae of Gaul. Volcae-fr.svg. The Volcae-fr.svg, according to Strabo, dwelt on the western side of the Lower Rhone, with their metropolis at Narbo. Narbo is spoken of as the naval station of these people alone, though it would be fairer to add, and of the rest of Celtica. So greatly has it surpassed the others in the number of people who use it as a trade centre. They were not alone in occupying their territory, with its capital at Nemesis. The Volcae-fr.svg of their own accord surrendered to the Roman Republic in 121 BC, after which they occupied the Roman province of Gallia Narbonensis, the southern part of Gallia Transalpina. They held their assemblies in the sacred wood of Nemesis, the site of modern Nîmes. In Roman times, the Volcae-fr.svg occupied the district between the Garonne River, the Cevennes, and the Rhone River, corresponding roughly to the Roman province of Gallia Narbonensis. In Gaul they were divided into two tribes in widely separated regions, the ʻwolkae on the east, living among the Ligures, and the Tectosages on the west, living among the Aquitanians. The territories were separated by the Ero River, or a line between the Ero River and the Orbe. Volcae Tectosages west of the ʻwolkae. The Volcae Tectosages lived among the Aquitanians. The territories were separated by the Ero River, or a line between the Ero River and the Orbe River. Strabo says the Volcae Tectosages came originally from the region near modern Toulouse, in France, and they were a Septor clan of the Volcae. The territory of the Volcae Tectosages in Gaul lay outside the Roman Republic, to the southwest of the Volcae-fr.svg. From the 3rd century BC, the capital city of the Volcae Tectosages was Tolosa. When the Cimbri and Teutones invaded Gaul, the Tectosages allied themselves with them, and the town Tolosa was sacked in retribution by Quintus Servilius Caepio in 106 BC. Tolosa was incorporated into the Roman Republic as part of the province of Gallia Aquitania with the conquest of Gaul by Julius Caesar in 52 BC. The Roman conquest of Tolosa ended the cultural identity of the Volcae Tectosages. According to Ptolemy's geography, their inland towns were Olyborus, Ruscino, Tolosa Colonia, Cesaro, Carcasso, Baratiri, and Narbonne Colonia. The Volcae Tectosages were among the successful raiders of the Delphi expedition and were said to have transported their booty to Tolosa. A significant part of these raiders, however, did not return and crossed the Bosphorus instead. As a result, Tectosages was also the name of one of the three great communities of Gauls who invaded and settled in Asia Minor in the country called after them, Galatia. Wenceslaus Kruta suggests that their movement into this region was probably motivated by a Carthaginian recruiting post situated close by, a main attraction of the region for Celtic mercenaries eager for more campaigning. Indeed, after crossing the Pyrenees in 218 BC, Hannibal in travelling through southern Gaul was greeted by warlike tribes, the Volcae, the Arverni, the Allobroges, and the Gauls of the Rhone Valley, who rose to prominence around the middle of the 3rd century BC. From around that time, this part of Gaul underwent a process of stabilization buttressed by the formation of new and powerful tribal confederations as well as the development of new-style settlements resembling the urban centers of the Mediterranean world, of which Tolosa and Nemesis were no exception. In 107, the Volcae, allies of the Tigurini, a branch of the Helvetii who belonged to a coalition act formed around the Cimbri and the Teutons, defeated a Roman army at Tolosa. In 106–5, Servilius Caepio was sent with an army to put down the revolt, and as a result, Tolosa was sacked, and thereafter the town and its territory were absorbed into the Roman province. thereby establishing firm control over the western Gallic trade corridor along the Carcassonne Gap and Garonne River. Etymology. Most modern Celticists regard the tribal name ʻwolkae as being related to Welsh gwallt, hawk, perhaps related to Latin falco, hawk, though some prefer to translate Gaulish *ʻwolkae as wolf, and, by semantic extension, errant warrior. There seems to be indication that their name is related to their breed of war greyhounds since before the 600 BC, when the Tectosages and Tolistobogi Celts sacked Delphi. Survivors left accounts of the fierce Celts and the huge dogs who fought with them and at their side. They were described by Julius Caesar in his war reports, the Gallic Wars. The name Tectosages, literally, possession seekers, meant claim stakers, perhaps closer in sense to claim jumper or land grabber, and a direct cognate is found in Old Irish tec tegader, he, she seeks to establish a land claim. Continuation of the name. The Volcae were highly influential in Moravia, and together with the Boyar and the Cotini and other Danubian tribes, they controlled a highly active network of trade routes connected to the Mediterranean and the German lands. The prowess of these tribes and the proximity led to their name being borrowed into Germanic as *Walhaz, a generic term for Celt, and eventually Roman, as the two cultures merged in time. This word has been applied widely to any former Roman provincials, including the Welsh, Italians, and French. Compare English Welsh, Flemish Dutch Walsh, Walloons, German Welsh, French, Switzerland German Chur Welsh, Shura Romance, Old Norse Valia, Roman, French. The word was also borrowed by the Slavs, who used it to refer to the Vlachs. Polish applied it not only to Vlachs but also Italians. Moreover, Hungarian name of Italy and the archaical ethnonym Olahoka derived from the same root. More examples in German as used in Switzerland include Welsh Schweiz, French-speaking Switzerland, Welsh Dorfli, Romansh village, a historic section of Chur, and Welsh Graben, French trenches, formerly a Burgundian defensive barrier. The name Walhaz is contained in Wallachia, Wallonia, and also, in the original meaning of Gallic, or Roman, appears in the word walnut and Old English Galwall, Gaul, France.